Hello everybody. So what I am going to talk about tonight is the Vim code editor. So Vim is nice because it's available on just about every computer pre-installed. So whether it's Apple or Linux or Android, or even if you get into things like the PlayStation or Nintendo or any type of device that you can open up, like if you could get into an Apple Watch, it would most likely have Vim on there. So when you're dealing with servers, when you're dealing with just about anything, the only place where you're not going to find it out of the box is Windows. And for that, actually, let me bring this onto the screen real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and put this link in the comments or description. I'm doing this live on Facebook right now, and I know the audio is a little bad. I'm going to fix that. I'm recording the audio separately, just some cable connections didn't work out tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in there right now so you've got it. This right here is a link to webinstall.dev/WSL, which is Windows subsystem for Linux. So if you are on Windows, you want to check that out. The Linux that's going to come with this, this is going to be, you're going to have Vim there, okay? And what I want to get you to, the reason we're going over this at all, what I want to get you to is the ability to have your own web server to run your programs on. So you can have a web page, you can have a backend. I'm going to be teaching on JavaScript and Go, but even if you're using Python or Ruby or something else, this is going to be beneficial to you. It's going to be a lot easier than many of the other methods. So let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here if I can. I should have done this before, sorry about that. We'll go ahead and make this window a little bit bigger. It's not going to give us a whole ton of room to play with, but that's okay. And if you are at a computer that is Mac, Vim is already installed, so you can just type Vim, and then I'm going to give a text file. So you saw me do this yesterday. We'll just call this readme.md. And so we're going to make this markdown file. Now, what you need to know, your right hand, that's the hand that's on your right side, that's connected on the same side as your right foot. That hand, if you type properly, which I know many of you don't, and that's fine, is going to rest right on your index finger is going to rest right on the J key, and there's a little bump on the J key. So this is called the home row. Now, right there to the left of the J key is the H key, and the arrow keys in Vim, you can use the arrow keys that are on the keyboard, but what you'll find is there's a lot of wrist strain there. And you may have, Vim may already be set up to work with your mouse as well, but just in the generic case, if you want to be able to work anywhere, and there's also an older program called VI, which is why I teach this method. So under your right hand, the H key is left, and then under your ring finger, the L key is right. So that's left and right. So let me type some text here. Here's some test text. I just want to have enough to demonstrate. And comments should be turned on, so feel free to ask questions. I'm trying to watch that to see if I get anything. Okay, so with that, if I use H, I go left. If I use L, I go right, based on the position of my fingers. H is 1 over, L's right here. And then if I want to go up and down, up is my, let's see, it's my middle finger. So my middle finger is up, so I can go up, 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 up. And then my finger that's resting on J, that's down. So down, whoops, down, 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 down. Hit the wrong key there. All right. So this is how you navigate text in Vim in what's called command mode. Vim has mode. Like normally when you enter a text editor like Word, Word is not a mode-based editor. It is a WYSIWYG is what we call it. What you see is what you get editor. And so typically those are for the mouse. They're not for programming. As I showed before, you can get weird errors where keys are automatically exchanged, particularly things like hyphen and quotes and stuff like that. In a text editor, a code editor like Vim, you don't have those problems. So there's another one that is called VS Code, and that's really popular. I highly recommend that you use that as well, but I'm going to teach Vim because it's so universal and there's a lot of nice things to it. So anyway, let me get to the point here. So this is your navigation arrow keys are these fingers right here. You can You can go left and right, you can go up and down, but this isn't typing, because you may have noticed right away, like, wait a minute, if I'm hitting H and it's going left, and I'm hitting L and it's going right, and J goes down and K goes up, like, how do I type the letters? So it's a mode-based editor, and what you remember is the vowels. So there's the escape key up in the top left of your keyboard, and then there are the vowel keys. So A, I, and O. Those are the ones that you need to remember. I'm only going to focus on I right now, but I just want you to remember it's the vowel keys, A, I, and O. So when you hit the letter I, that will put you in insert mode. I don't know if you can see down here, but it changed from command mode to insert mode. And so now if I type H, it's inserting the letter H, and if I type L, it's inserting L, and then same thing with J and K. It's inserting those in. And then if I hit delete, rather than just moving backwards, it actually deletes things. So this is how you use Vim, is you hit escape to go into command mode, that's the default mode you're in, and then you can use those HJKL as arrow keys, and then you can hit one of the vowel keys, particularly I for insert. So I is for insert, A is for insert after, and O is for open a new line. And you can also use shift with these. So if I do O, it opens a new line below, but if I do shift O, it opens a new line above. Same thing, if I do A, then it puts me in edit mode after what is on my cursor. But if I use Shift A, oh, that did way after. That put me at the end of the line. So never mind that. Anyway, so that's the thing that, so you know how to move around. You know the vowel keys. Oh, well, one of them's your middle finger, and the other one is your pinky. So if you just kind of think your middle finger is doing double duty there, then you'll be good, because that's the I, the one you need to worry about. And then the only other thing that you need to worry about with Vim is how to save the file that you edited and get out of it. And I'm going to teach you, it's a little bit hard to remember, so we're going to do a mnemonic with this, but you hit escape. Escape puts you back in command mode, and then you do :WQ bang. So often in the programming and Linux world, we refer to the exclamation mark as bang, maybe because 3 syllables is too many, or I don't know. But if you hear people say bang, that's what they mean. They mean exclamation mark. So :WQ bang, and you hit enter, and that issues the command to write, to quit, and to do so forcefully. Now, you don't normally need the bang, but I want to teach you that sequence. So imagine in your mind, you've got a stomach and it's connected to the colon, okay? So this is dirty work here. So it's connected to the colon, and then W, as in wasabi. Wasabi, ooh, it's spicy. Now wasabi actually only affects your tongue, but we're gonna pretend that the wasabi here, that's also for right, the W, you know, is giving you stomach problems. So you've got your colon, you've got your wasabi, your right, and then you've got your Q, which is for, I don't know, there's not a lot of things that begin with Q. So quack, because you're going to quack like a duck because the wasabi is so bad. And then bang, like you just want to be shot because you had too much wasabi and your colon hurts and you're quacking like a duck. I know this is like terribly bad, but the purpose is just to give you something ridiculous that is somewhat memorable. So hopefully that works out. And if you want to quit without saving, because this happens sometimes, you screw up the file, you don't know what you did wrong, you do colon and Q and then bang. And this is when the bang is most useful, because normally if you try to use colon Q to quit, what will happen is it will tell you, but you didn't save. Well, how the heck do I fix that? So you add the bang. And the one last thing that we need to talk about as beginner Vim, because I'm going to do probably 3 or 4 videos on Vim in total. The other thing that you need to know is that oftentimes you're used to using something like Word or some type of editor where Control S or Command S will save. And so just instinctively, when you want to save, you're going to hit Control S. If you do that, it is going to freeze up and it's not going to respond, and nothing you do, you can hit escape, you can hit I, you can try to type, you can try to move the arrow keys, you can try to move your right-handed navigation, none of it's going to work. I have no idea why this is, but Control S in Vim will freeze Vim. And so Q does double duty. If you hit Control Q will unfreeze Vim. So if I'm moving around here and I accidentally, out of habit, hit Control S, well, it's not working for me right now. I must have done some sort of key rebinding or something. So it's actually not freezing. But anyway, when you come across that situation where it freezes, all you have to do is hit Control Q to unfreeze it. And my magic sequence is just to hit Escape a bunch of times, hit Control Q a bunch of times, hit I a bunch of times, and try those things in random order. And normally that'll land me back into at least where I can get something done. So that is the basics of how to be able to do very simple editing in Vim. And I know this sounds so ridiculous. It sounds like, whoa, this is so complicated. I have to use my right hand for the arrow keys. I have to hit I to go into insert mode. I have to issue a command to save, which is :WQ bang. But it's one of those things where it takes you about 15 minutes to learn and it lasts you the rest of your lifetime. And there are so many other things you can do with Vim, some of which I'll go into later. There's a lot of shortcuts. It becomes very, very invaluable as a code editor, which you want something very different in a code editor from what you want in something like Microsoft Word. It's a different, just like we have, say, with the Adobe products, you've got Photoshop does still images and Illustrator does vector images and InDesign does page layout. And then you've got something like Microsoft Word that does, basic email type of stuff. You have different tools for different jobs, even though, half of those tools in the Adobe suite deal with images, they're distinctly different because the way that they use images. Same thing here. Vim is a text editor, but the way we use it is completely different. Now, I will mention one other thing about Vim to help you guys out before we go here. Let me bring this window over. So as I mentioned before, I've created webinstall.dev in order to help people that are new to development to have easy access to tools that you're going to need. So the simplest way, before you install any developer tool, before you follow some random blog, check webinstall.dev to see if that tool is here. There are a number of Vim plugins, and I'm actually going to add quite a few more as soon as I have some extra time. But I'm basically replicating my quick and simple Vim setup that does the 90% of what you need to do with the 10% of the configuration. I'm adding some of these shortcuts on webinstall.dev, so I absolutely recommend that these three plugins are must-have. Vim Sensible, Vim Syntastic, and Vim Prettier. There's no reason that you should be using Vim without them in the modern age. And I'll just show you. Installing it is as simple as copying and pasting this command right here. And then in my terminal, I just paste it. So I copied it, I paste it, I hit enter. That command's going to run. And now Vim is set up to use Syntastic. Now in my case, it was already set up. And if you want to see where the configuration went, because it's really obnoxious when you make changes to your computer and you don't know where those changes went, all Vim configuration goes into /, which is short for home. We'll talk about this later. I'm not going to do a bash lesson tonight, but .vimrc. And if you look in here, unfortunately, with my text size, this looks like complicated nonsense. It's just because the lines are too long. Let me make this a little shorter here. So there, it'll look a little less intimidating if it's not blown up to be so big. But my purpose there was just to show you that there are some comments that will get added for these Vim plugins as you use them. So you can see here there's some source comments in my Vim config. You don't need to worry about this now. I'm just letting you know when you add these plugins using webinstall.dev how it's going to update your Vim config. Don't be this is my personal Vim config file. Yours is not going to have this much stuff in it. I've got a lot of things in mind because I customize it. You don't need to do all that. I just wanted to draw your attention right down here to the bottom. Whoops. This is where webinstall.dev is adding just a single comment, single line, that it added prettier, and that's where prettier is and such. Okay, so I wanted to let you see that. And with that, that concludes our first lesson on Vim. I hope that you find that useful. Please, please leave me comments, leave me questions. I want to know what was confusing. I want to know what more you want to know. It can be a little off topic. I also want to know other programming topics that you want to learn about. So yesterday we talked about recursion. This week we're also going to be talking about a few other, well, not tomorrow because I'm taking the day off tomorrow, but starting Monday, we're going to do a couple of other computer science topics that I'm going to try to explain in a simple way. So I want you guys to help me with that just by asking questions and give me feedback. You can tell me, hey, this part really sucked. I didn't understand it. That would be wonderful. Please go ahead. There's going to be a link in the description that isn't there quite yet, but there's going to be a link that is to the YouTube channel for Beyond Code. So all these Beyond Code lives are going to be on YouTube. There's a Facebook group that is Beyond Code Bootcamp. That's also going to be linked in the description. It's linked in my other videos on the on my feed here in Facebook. And also, just kind of as a side note, there's another channel that I'm doing, Health, Wealth, and Commitment. And so if you're interested in that, just kind of some lifestyle stuff, you can go ahead and subscribe to that as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you you taking the time to educate yourself, and I hope that this does a lot of good for you. Let me know any questions you have, and I'll catch you later. Adios.